My name is Akshita. I teach polity and public administration at Excel Civils Academy. Right, today's session would be on how to score 300 plus in public administration. Now, before we get into the details, first I need you to understand the importance of optional subject. At least 500 marks you would be scoring alone from optional subject. And if you want to find your name in the final list, you need to score at least 280 plus. Okay, so it is very, very important. You will not score as high in your general studies papers as in your optional papers, right? In general studies, the maximum that you would score is 100 or 110. This is the average marks that students get, those of you who clear the examination, right? But in optional subjects, you are given marks liberally. Around 150 to 160 marks is quite possible in both the papers, right? So understand the importance of optional subject and allocate time accordingly. This is the first suggestion that I would like to give you. Now, those of you who attended this session, I hope you've all chosen public administration as your optional. Here, I will not be dealing with the question which optional subject to choose, right? And I'm presuming that you have chosen public administration as your optional. Okay. Now, I would like you to open UPSC syllabus PDF of public administration subject. If you open the PDF, you will find in total 12 chapters in paper 1 and 14 chapters in paper 2. In paper 1, you have your introduction. The next two chapters, that is administrative thought and administrative behavior, you will have to know about various thinkers, right? For example, in chapter 2, you will have to know about Taylor, Wilson, Chester Bernard, Herbert Simon, Elton Mayo, Mary Parker Foley, right? So these are all the different thinkers that you need to know about in chapter 2. Similarly, in chapter 3 also, you will find a lot of thinkers, communication related thinkers, morale and leadership related thinkers, and all those theories. In chapter 4, you have organizations where you need to know about systems and contingency theory, right? So first go through the syllabus. In fifth chapter, you have accountability and control. Very, very important. There is an overlap with paper 2 also, and you will require this chapter even in your ethics, that is GS paper 4, right? So this chapter, many students tend to leave, but I would suggest you to go through this chapter comprehensively so that it will help you in GS paper 2, that is governance related issues, and also in GS paper 4, that is ethics paper. Okay. Then you have your administrative law. Again, very important. Many students tend to leave out this chapter, but you will frequently find a 10-mark question in paper 1 from this chapter, right? In 10-mark questions, you will not have an option to choose. You have to compulsorily answer this question, right? So in optional papers, you cannot afford to leave any question, right? You have to answer all the questions and come. Okay. So every chapter is very important. This is what I'm trying to suggest. So don't leave out any chapter. All of you will start focusing on the first 3 chapters and neglect all the other chapters, right? Don't do this mistake. Then you have comparative public administration, again very important, Rigsian model. Then you have development dynamics. What is the concept of development, right? What are the development models which Indian government followed since independence? All this you have to cover in chapter 8. Then you have personal administration, again very important. Public policy. What are the various policy models? What are the policy models which Indian government follows? What are the challenges in policy implementation? How do we frame policies? All this will be covered in chapter 10. Then you have techniques of administrative improvement, right? How do you implement a project? What are the various models you take up to implement a particular project? For example, PERT and CPM, right? All this would get covered in chapter 11. Then you have chapter 12, financial administration. What are the different budget types? How do you make a budget? Which institutions are involved in budget formulation, right? And what are the ways that we can improve our budget formulation? What are the new models which have come up? For example, whenever you hear our finance minister's speech, you would keep hearing the word outcome budgeting or output budgeting, right? Or gender budgeting, right? So all these topics would get covered in financial administration. In paper 2, you have evolution of public administration or Indian administration. There you have to cover British administration, Mughal administration, Kautilya. Okay. In chapter 2, philosophical and constitutional framework. Chapter 3, public sector undertakings. What are LPG reforms? Do we need to go for privatization of our public sector enterprises? Are they doing well? What are the challenges that these enterprises face? What are the things that we can do to improve these organizations? In chapter 4, you have union government and administration. You need to know about executive, judiciary, and parliament. Are they functioning effectively? What are the constitutional provisions regarding our parliament, our Supreme Court? These are the things that you need to cover in chapter 4. Plans and priorities, chapter 5. Recently, in the before 4 years that we got a new body, Niti Aayog, right? You need to compare Planning Commission and Niti Aayog. Understand the provisions of Niti Aayog. What is its job description? Has it been functioning well? What are the programs that it has implemented over the last 4 years? This is chapter 5. In chapter 6, you have state government and administration. Here you will have to cover center-state relations, provisions related to governor. Okay. Chapter 7, district administration. You need to know about the role of collector. How has it changed over the last 75 years? What are the changes that we need to make going forward? Civil services. Again, it has a lot of overlap with chapter 9 of paper 1, that is personal administration. Okay, so all this analysis that you have to do before starting your preparation, go through the entire UPSC syllabus of public administration, note down all these chapters. Now you will ask me, madam, where do I cover all these chapters from? Right? Like I was saying few minutes ago, in public administration, there is no one single book, right? You have to pick up sources for each and every chapter separately. Okay, and you have to do selective reading of these sources. You should not be reading the entire book. You need to do some selective reading of these chapters and try to make your own notes. In optional subjects, it is very important to have your own notes. Only then you can revise. Only then you will be able to answer mains examination very well, right? So in optional subjects, have your own notes. Compile all the sources which I'm going to give you now. Go through them. Once your first reading is over, once you have understood all the concepts, when you're doing your second reading, try to make your own notes. Okay, so let us start. What are the sources for these chapters? Where will you cover all these chapters from? Again, I'm repeating, do not leave any chapter. Every chapter is important, right? So the first chapter is introduction chapter. In mains examination, you'll have at least 60 to 70 marks from this chapter, right? So very, very important chapter, both in optional questions, that is your question number 2 and question number 3, and in your compulsory questions, that is question number 5 and question number 1, right? These are compulsory questions. Many questions come from the first chapter, and you will cover it from IGNOU material. Okay, Indira Gandhi National Open University, it has a lot of material on public administration, especially for master students, right? So you open MA public administration material given by IGNOU and try to cover it. Okay, and cover topic by topic. Pick up a topic, meaning, scope, and significance of public administration. There is a website called eGyan Kosh, where you will find all the IGNOU material, right? So open this website, MA Public Administration material, and try to cover each and every topic in the first chapter. Okay, meaning, scope, and significance of public administration. What is Wilson's vision of public administration? What is new public administration? What is new public management? What is this good governance? What are these LPG reforms? All of this you have to cover from IGNOU material, right? So for the first chapter, IGNOU is the go-to. Okay. Now let us come to second chapter, that is administrative thought. Now this chapter will take a lot of time for you to cover it, right? There are a lot of thinkers, at least 12, 13 thinkers that you have to cover in chapter 2. And the sources for this would be Mohit Bhattacharya, New Horizons, Prasad and Prasad, Administrative Thinkers, Brian R. Fry, Mastering Public Administration. These are the 3 sources to cover your administrative thought. Now do very selective reading. For example, you have picked up Taylor, right? Read Taylor from either Mohit Bhattacharya or from Prasad and Prasad. Pick up any one of these two books. Read what was Taylor's vision. How did he want to improve the organizations? What were the suggestions that he put forward, right? And this is another book, Brian R. Fry, Mastering Public Administration. It is a very wonderfully written book, but it is at an advanced level. If any of you have already covered public administration syllabus once, then I would suggest you to open Brian R. Fry. But if you are a first attempt candidate, that is you're just starting out your public administration preparation, do not immediately open Brian R. Fry. Stick to either Mohit Bhattacharya or Prasad and Prasad. Okay, so these are the sources for chapter 2. Mohit Bhattacharya, New Horizons; Prasad and Prasad, Administrative Thinkers; Brian R. Fry, Mastering Public Administration. Right, now let us come to the third chapter, Administrative Behavior. You can find entire chapter 3 in IGNOU material, MA Public Administration material, right? So for chapter 3, the source would be IGNOU material. Then for chapter 4, organizations, again IGNOU material. Now do not think that IGNOU material is substandard. No, it is not substandard. It is written by Delhi University and Jawaharlal Nehru University professors and various other central university professors, right? So this material is of very high standard. Okay, so do not think that this is a substandard material which is not useful for UPSC. It is very wonderfully written material. Okay, so chapter 4, organizations, you can cover it from IGNOU. Then chapter 5, accountability and control, you have to cover this from ARC2 reports. Administrative Reforms Commission, ARC2. For public administration students, these reports are very, very important. There are in total 15 reports, right? But you do not need to go through all those 15 reports. I will tell you in this class which reports are important and for which chapters. Okay, so for accountability and control, go through ARC2. Next, you have administrative law. Cover it from Mohit Bhattacharya. Administrative law, cover it from Mohit Bhattacharya. And if you do not understand from this book, try to do some internet research. It is a very small chapter which can be covered very easily, but many students leave out this chapter. Okay, so you don't make that mistake, because at least one compulsory 10-mark question would come from administrative law. Okay, now let us come to comparative public administration. For this, you have two sources, Prasad and Prasad, Brian R. Fry. Prasad and Prasad, for those of you who are starting out your public administration preparation, and those of you who have already covered the syllabus, try to read Brian R. Fry, Mastering Public Administration. Then you have development dynamics. Cover it from IGNOU material. Concept of development, various development models, right? All of this is available in IGNOU material. Try to cover this chapter from that. Then you have personnel administration. For personnel administration, ARC2 reports are enough. In ARC2, you have a report on refurbishing of personnel administration. Okay, thus that report is very important both for chapter 9 in paper 1 and chapter 8 in paper 2. Okay, so chapter 9 you will cover it from ARC2 reports. The report name is Refurbishing of Personnel Administration. Okay, then you have public policy chapter, again a chapter which most of you will leave, but don't commit that mistake. Public policy, the source is Sapru. This is author's name. He has written one book on public policy. Try to go through that book. You'll find, or you'll have a theoretical understanding of various public policy models and what are the challenges in policy formulation and policy implementation. Okay, so for chapter 10, go through Sapru. Again, there is also IGNOU material on public policy. Go through both of these and compile it in your own notes. Then you have techniques of administrative improvement. The source would be IGNOU material. techniques of administrative improvement. Then the last chapter is financial administration. The source would be ARC2. Strengthening financial management systems is the name of the report. Okay, go through that report to develop a good understanding on financial administration. Okay, so these will be your sources for paper 1. First chapter, IGNOU. Second chapter, Prasad and Prasad, Mohit Bhattacharya, Brian R. Fry. Third chapter, IGNOU material. Fourth, again IGNOU material. Fifth, accountability and control from ARC2. Sixth, administrative law from Mohit Bhattacharya. Seventh, comparative public administration from Mohit Bhattacharya, Prasad and Prasad, and Brian R. Fry. Development dynamics, IGNOU material. Ninth chapter, personal administration, ARC2 report, and the report's name is Refurbishing of Personal Administration. Okay. 10th chapter, public policy from SAPRU and IGNOU. 11th chapter, techniques of administrative improvement from IGNOU. 12th chapter, financial administration from ARC2 report, and the report's name is Strengthening of Financial Management Systems. Okay, so these are the sources for paper 1. Now, do not think that madam has told a lot of sources. Can we cover all this? You will be able to cover if you do selective reading. Okay, when I tell you to read Mohit Bhattacharya, don't buy the book and start reading from page 1 to the last page. Okay, cover only those topics which are part of this chapter. Do not read the entire book. Of course, Mohit Bhattacharya, many public administration aspirants, they tend to read the entire book if you have the time. For example, if you are someone who is giving the examination in 2023, then you will have the time to read entire Mohit Bhattacharya. But if you are giving the examination next year, you will not have the time. Okay, so if you are someone like that, then you have to do only selective reading of these books. Prasad and Prasad, again, very, very important book. Right? Many questions are directly picked from Prasad and Prasad. The statement is directly picked from the book, and they'll ask you to comment on it or to analyze it. All right. So this is entirely possible to do if you do a selective reading of all these sources. Okay. Now let us come to paper 2, evolution of Indian administration. What are the sources? R.K. Arora and Rajni Goel. R.K. Arora and Rajni Goel. This is for chapter 1, evolution of Indian administration. For chapter 2, again, the same book, R.K. Arora and Rajni Goel. It is a wonderfully written book. You will have your entire paper 2 in that book. But for some chapters, it is not enough. Rajni Goel and R.K. Arora book, it is not enough for some chapters, for which I will give you additional sources. Okay. Now let us come to the third chapter, public sector undertakings. Very important. You will have an annual report released by Department of Public Enterprises. Annual report released by Department of Public Enterprises. This report will become very important for you to substantiate your answers and to give data and statistics regarding public sector undertakings. For example, if you say that public sector undertakings are not functioning very well, how will you substantiate your answer? You will get all the data from this annual report released by Department of Public Enterprises. All right. Then the rest of it, that is the static part of public sector enterprises or public sector undertakings, you can cover from IGNOU material. These are the two sources for chapter 3, IGNOU material and annual report released by Department of Public Enterprises. Then you have Union Government and Administration. This chapter you will cover from Rajni Goel and R.K. Arora book. And ARC2 reports. The problem with this chapter is many students, they do union government, that is, they do executive, they cover judiciary, they cover parliament, but they leave out the rest of the administrative aspects. They try to read this chapter like they read M. Lakshmikant. But for optional paper 2 in public administration, that is not enough. Why do I say this? Because you will not find cabinet secretary in your M. Lakshmikant book, right? You will not find the Prime Minister's office in your M. Lakshmikant book. which is very important for public administration. If you open any previous year questions compilation, you will have many questions from these topics. And the students tend to neglect this administration part of chapter 4. They only do union government, but they will not do administration aspect. That is cabinet secretary, prime minister's office, what are the various departments in government of India. Okay, all that you will get in ARC2 report, report number 13, that is organizational structure of government of India. Okay, so the sources for chapter 4 would be Rajni Goel and ARC2 report on organizational structure of government of India. ARC2 report, the number is 13. Okay, this is chapter 4. Then plans and priorities. These days they are not asking a lot of questions from this chapter, but after a newly formed body, that is Niti Aayog, now they are asking questions again, especially comparison of Niti Aayog and Planning Commission. What are the changes that we are seeing now? Has Niti Aayog been successful so far? What are the programs that Niti Aayog is implementing? What is its job description, right? So all this you have to cover in plans and priorities. And there is one more important topic called indicative planning. What is indicative planning? What are the different ways that you can plan for an economy? How has our planning changed from 1950s to 2020s? We are not following the same model of planning anymore. We have moved towards what is called as an indicative planning. All right. So in chapter 5, you have to cover all that. At least one question you would see from plans and priorities chapter. Okay. Now, what are the sources for this? For this, you can cover all the previous 5-year plans from IGNOU material. You need to know the basic summary of each and every 5-year plan. And you need to know about Niti Aayog. Which you will cover from reports released by Niti Aayog itself. And Government of India has also released a report when it was establishing Niti Aayog. Go through that report. There you will have an idea about what this body is all about and what are its functions. For chapter 5, the sources would be IGNOU and reports released by Government of India. Then you have next chapter, that is state government and administration. In state government and administration, you will have to go through this in Pucci Commission report. There is a commission called Pucci Commission on center-state relations. Your entire chapter 6 would get covered if you read those reports. You are not general studies aspirants. You are preparing for public administration. So do not try to read summaries. If you have time, try to go through those reports. All right. Pucci Commission report on center-state relations is very, very important for chapter 6. There in Pucci Commission reports, you will find all about governor. What are the challenges that we are facing with this office of governor? What are the ways that we can improve our center-state relations, our financial relations, legislative relations? What are the constitutional provisions regarding this, right? All this would get covered in Pucci Commission report. Again, just like chapter 4, in chapter 6 also, many students tend to neglect the administration part. They only read about state government. They read about governor. They will read about chief minister, but they will not read about chief secretary. Right? Now they will ask questions from chief secretary. How is chief secretary different from cabinet secretary? What are the powers of cabinet secretary? What are the powers of chief secretary? What is the role of chief secretary? Right? What is the multi-dimensional role that he has been given? Okay. Now all this also you have to cover in chapter 6. That is state government and administration. Again, I'm emphasizing you're not preparing for GS polity, you are preparing for public administration. So the level of preparation must be much higher. Right? If you are writing a optional answer on governor, you cannot write like a polity student. Right? So you have to quote the recommendations given by Pucci Commission. You have to quote Supreme Court judgments on it, Rameshwar Prasad case. And you also have to quote Sarkaria Commission recommendations on governor. Right? So all of this you have to do if you are a public administration optional student. You don't have to do it for polity. right? The main problem, many students, they tend to score very less in optional paper 2. In public administration optional paper 2, many students, they score very less marks, even though it is a very easy paper. The main reason is they do not differentiate between their polity preparation and their optional paper 2 preparation. They will think that both are the same. They think that if they read M. Lakshmikant, then they can attempt public administration questions also. That is not possible. The level of preparation must be much higher in public administration optional paper 2, which is why you need to cover all these committee reports, Sarkaria, Poochi, and ARC2. Okay, now this is regarding chapter 6. Then you have district administration. There is an ARC2 report on district administration. The report number is 15. Okay. Then chapter 8. ARC2 chapter 15 for district administration. Then you have your civil services, which you will cover again from ARC2 report on refurbishing personnel administration. Civil services. Now, whenever you are doing this chapter on civil services, try to do it along with chapter 9 in paper 1, right? So you have to do personnel administration and civil services together. Okay, only then you will be able to write a comprehensive answer. If they ask you something about civil services training in optional paper 1, you have to quote examples from Indian administration also. In the same manner, if they ask you a question on Indian civil services, you have to write a theoretical explanation also, right? So you have to read both these chapters together, which you will be able to cover from ARC2 report on refurbishing of personnel administration, right? Now let us come to chapter 9, financial management. This chapter has to be read along with financial administration chapter in paper 1, which you will cover from ARC2 reports. Okay, what is the role of comptroller and auditor general? What are the various ways of accounting? What are the various ways of auditing? What are the audits which Indian controller and auditor general does, right? And some Indian examples regarding the role of CAG, its role in bringing out 2G scam, in bringing out coal scam, right? So you have to use all these examples in paper 1 also. Okay, which is why I keep suggesting that you have to read paper 1 along with paper 2, right? Financial administration has to be read along with financial management chapter in paper 2. Okay, now the next chapter is administrative reforms since independence. You do not have to read this chapter separately. If you are reading ARC2 reports, if you are reading Sarkaria and Poochi Commission reports, you don't have to read this chapter separately. Okay, but if you want to do it, you can go through IGNOU material on this chapter. Then you have rural development and urban development, very important. You will have a 20-mark question from rural development and urban development, whether it is about Panchayat Raj institutions or about municipalities or about new localism, global local debate. All these topics are important. What is Metropolitan Police Authority? Can be implemented in India. Okay, so these are the topics in chapter 11 and chapter 12, which you will cover from ARC2 report number 6. ARC2 report number 6 on local governance. These reports are mandatory. Whatever reports which I have just told you, right? Those reports are mandatory. It is only at your peril that you would ignore all these reports. All right. So chapter 11 and chapter 12, rural development and urban development. ARC2 report's name is local governance and the number is 6. All right. Then you have law and order administration. Again, this is a chapter which most students tend to ignore. Okay. What is the role of central paramilitary forces? What is the role of state forces in maintaining internal security? Right. And what are the reforms that we can introduce to improve our police force? Police reforms, public police relations. All of this you will find in chapter number 13. For this, you have an ARC2 report named public order. Okay, so your source would be ARC to report public order. That is report number 5. All right. Now the last is significant issues in Indian administration. Now this chapter is important also for your ethics paper. Significant issues in Indian administration. This chapter is important for your ethics paper. You will cover this from ARC to report citizen-centric administration. There is a report named citizen-centric administration. Report number 13. And there is also a report on RTI, report number 1. It is from these 2 reports that you will cover chapter number 14. All right. If you do not find any topic in ARCs, please do internet research and try to have your own notes for it. All right. So these are the sources for public administration optional paper 1 and paper 2. Right. And all the reports that I have just mentioned, go through those reports. Do not just read summaries, because you're public administration optional students and you're not preparing for GS paper 2. All right. I hope you have noted down all these sources. I'll be erasing them. Can you please respond if you have noted down all these sources?
Ma'am?
Yes.
Ma'am, paper 2 financial management source, please tell me again, ma'am.
Paper 2 financial management, you will be covering from ARC to report. ARC to report on strengthening financial management systems.
Okay, thank you, ma'am.
Yes. The rest of you, have you noted down all these sources? Can I erase them?
Yes, ma'am.
Excuse me, ma'am.
Yes.
Ma'am, in this session, are you going to cover about GS paper or only optional paper public administration?
In this session, we are going to cover public administration optional.
Thank you, ma'am.
Yes. Okay, I will erase them. Students, can you please mute your mic? Okay, so this is what we have done so far. First is comprehensive coverage of syllabus. This is what you require for scoring more than 300 marks in public administration. This is the first step, comprehensive coverage of syllabus, which you will do from all these sources. Now, one more important thing about syllabus coverage is do not just confine yourself to reading all these sources. After reading these sources, please go through previous year questions. For example, you have covered Taylor. You have covered Taylor from Prasad and Prasad. After reading this topic from that book, go through all the previous year questions which are asked on Taylor. Okay, there you will understand what are the various dimensions in which questions are being asked on Taylor. Okay, apart from reading all these sources, you have to cover these dimensions also. Do you get my point? After reading the sources, go through previous year questions. It is mandatory. See all the dimensions in which questions are being asked. I'll give you an example. You have a topic called Wilson's vision of public administration, right? After you read about him in any one of these sources that I have just mentioned, there are 3 previous year questions on Wilson. Even after 130 years of its publication, the essay that Wilson has written, that is the study of administration, continues to have great relevance even today, comment, right? So by reading this question, what do you understand? You understand that they are asking about relevance of Wilson today, right? Even after 130 years, the essay that Wilson has written continues to have great relevance even today, right? Now, this relevance part will not be covered in your basic sources. You will have to do some extra reading for it, right? How is, let us say, Google applying this principle which Wilson has talked about? How did other thinkers apply Wilson's vision of public administration? Okay, both theoretical and practical application has to be seen in your answer, which you will not find in basic sources. All right, which is why I keep telling you that you have to cover other dimensions also by going through previous year questions. This is the first dimension, relevance of Wilson today, theoretical relevance and practical relevance. Now, second question on Wilson, field of administration is field of business. This is the second question which was asked on Wilson, right? So they are asking a comment-based question. They are giving you a statement by Wilson and they're asking you to comment on it, right? So this is the second type of question which they may ask from Wilson, right? Then there is a third question, calling Wilson a father of public administration is doing injustice to more eminent contributions which were made prior to him, right? If you know about Wilson, he is considered as father of public administration because it is his essay, that is the study of administration, which led to the beginning of public administration discipline, right? So he's considered as father of public administration. But other people criticize that you should not call him father of public administration because there were more eminent contributions which were made prior to him, right? So they're asking about critique. They're asking about critique of Wilson, right? So these are the three dimensions in which they are asking, and all these three dimensions should be seen in your notes. What did Wilson say? What were his propositions? What is the critique that other thinkers have said about Wilson? What is his relevance today? These are all the dimensions that you need to have in your notes, right? This is what I mean when I say comprehensive syllabus coverage. You cannot just read basic sources and be done with it. In optional, you need to cover all the dimensions because in your syllabus, you will only be given vague topic names, right? What do you understand by rural development? It is a vague topic name which is being given, right? Now, what are the questions which will be asked under rural development? You will only know when you go through previous year questions. All right. So this is how you have to cover your syllabus comprehensively. I'll give you another example. Now they have asked a question on 73rd Constitutional Amendment Act. '73rd Constitutional Amendment Act. Now, I hope all of you know about this particular amendment. It is through this amendment that Panchayat Raj institutions were given constitutional status in India, right? And this amendment is very important for UPSC examination. It is one of the favorite topics of UPSC. Now, under 73rd Constitutional Amendment Act, you cannot just read constitutional provisions and think that I have covered this act. You will also have to cover all the dimensions. In previous years, they have asked if 73rd Constitutional Amendment Act accentuates fiscal indiscipline between states and Panchayat Raj institutions. They are asking if through 73rd Constitutional Amendment Act, we are able to address the problem of fiscal indiscipline between states and Panchayat Raj institutions. That is, are we making it better for Panchayat Raj institutions to receive money from state government? Yes, we are able to do it because we have introduced a new body called State Finance Commission through 73rd Constitutional Amendment Act. And it is the State Finance Commission which will decide how much of money should be given by state governments to Panchayat Raj institutions. Earlier, state governments used to have a choice whether to give money to Panchayat Raj institutions or not was at the discretion of state governments. But after having this State Finance Commission introduced or established through 73rd Constitutional Amendment Act, now there is a constitutionally mandatory duty for state governments to give money to Panchayat Raj institutions, right? So this is the first dimension in which they have asked the question. Now, the second dimension is how are Panchayat Raj institutions helping in economic development and social justice. See, all these dimensions I'm not creating out of thin air. I have looked at previous year question compilations and I've noted down all these dimensions. First is regarding fiscal indiscipline. Second is regarding how Panchayat Raj institutions contribute to economic development and social justice. Now, you keep hearing in news that there are a lot of women sarpanchs now, right? Lot of women are getting elected into Panchayat Raj institutions. So what they are doing is they are helping the cause of social justice. They are helping political representation of women. They are increasing political representation of women. And through that, they are doing some social justice, right? They're also helping in economic development by better implementation of government schemes, right? So these are all the points that you need to write. And you can cover all this by going through previous year questions, right? Then what are other dimensions? They've asked that these Panchayat Raj institutions, they still face lot of challenges. Panchayat Raj institutions in India, they still face lot of challenges. So in your notes, you also need to write what are the challenges which Panchayat Raj institutions are facing, right? So this way you have to cover each and every dimension for every single topic in your syllabus by going through previous year questions and all the sources that I have just mentioned, right? Immediately after you finish one topic, go through previous year questions, note down the additional dimensions and try to find out answers for those dimensions, right? This is how you cover syllabus comprehensively in optional subjects. Now, this is not just true for public administration, it is true for general studies also and for any other optional subject. They need to have some specific points, specific and unique answers. Second, your answers cannot be like quality answers. It cannot be the same answer which is being written by everyone else. And it cannot also be like a quality answer, that is your GS paper 2 answer. You need to write something different in public administration. How will you be able to do it? What should you do? How can you enrich your answers? I will give you a list of various ways in which you can enrich your public administration answers. First, current affairs. Now, I hope you have all developed this habit of reading newspapers by now. When you read newspapers, try to pay close attention to those current affairs which will be helpful for your public administration optional. For example, a new initiative was launched by Government of India, Mission Karma Yogi. Mission Karma Yogi is for capacity building of our public servants or our civil servants, right? Now, this Mission Karma Yogi is important for your public administration. If you want to enrich your answers, you have to write current affairs like this in your answer. Okay, you have to show to the examiner or to the person who is evaluating your paper, you have to show that you are able to apply your theoretical knowledge to the current day happenings. All right. So this application part is very important. How are you applying all the knowledge that you have gained by reading all these books? You can, when they ask you about Taylor, you cannot simply write the propositions of Taylor. You also have to write how Taylor's theory is being applied today. How is it being applied by governments? How is it being applied by various businesses? right? So this application part is very important in your answers. Only when you apply, you will score high marks. There are a lot of intelligent students who know a lot about Taylor, who know a lot about thinkers, right? Coming from big universities. Now they write very theoretical answers, but they forget this part, the application part, and they score very less marks, right? So how are you going to apply it? Is one way that you can enrich your mains answers. Second is quoting recommendations. Recommendations given by various committees and commissions. Sarkaria, ARC2, Finance Commission, RBI, okay, Poochie Commission, Supreme Court judgments. You have to quote their recommendations to substantiate your answers, to make them more deep. The third way is to quote case studies. This is another way that you can improve your answers. For example, if they are asking about district planning, you cannot simply write that district planning is good or that there are so and so constitutional provisions regarding district planning. You have to write about Kollam model, a model which was followed in Kerala regarding district planning, right? So this is how you enrich your answers, that we have to upscale Kollam model should be your conclusion. When you write a very specific conclusions, or when you write or quote case studies, you will get very high marks. Where will you get all these case studies from? From Yojana and from ARC2 reports. ARC2 reports have several case studies. So when you're reading those reports, pay close attention to those case studies also, right? So when they were in ARC2, in public order report, you would have a case study on Metropolitan Police Authority in United Kingdom, in London, right? So when they ask you about Metropolitan Police Authority, which they've already asked, UPSC has already asked a question on this, you have to write about the London model. Okay, so this is how you enrich your answers. I hope you're all able to follow. Yes. So value addition, current affairs, quoting recommendations, and case studies. This is how you enrich your answers. And linking paper 1 and paper 2. When they ask you about civil services capacity building in paper 1, you cannot just write a theoretical explanation. You have to write about Mission Karma Yogi. This is what I mean when I say that you have to link paper 1 and paper 2. If they ask you about cabinet secretary and chief secretary, you have to write that cabinet secretary plays a staff role, whereas chief secretary has a dual role of line and staff. These are concepts in public administration, right? So this is how you have to link paper 1 and paper 2. If they ask you about public sector undertakings and how we can improve their performance, you have to write about performance-based incentives, which is a recommendation which was given by Taylor way back in 1900s. Okay, so this is how you have to link paper 1 and paper 2. Do not think that you will not write paper 2 content in paper 1, right? So you have to write paper 2 content in paper 1 and paper 1 content in paper 2. Now this linking, you will not be able to do it directly in the examination. When you are revising your notes, try to link different concepts. When you're reading about Taylor, try to link the initiatives taken by Government of India which are related to Taylor. Performance-based incentives, right? Organization and methods, O&M, which was implemented by Government of India immediately after independence. Okay, so linking paper 1 and paper 2 is another way that you can add value to your answers. All right. I'll give you another example. We have a theory called elite theory in public policy chapter. Elite theory. What this theory says is that policies are not made by masses. They are made by elites in our society. Right? This is what this model says. This is a summary. That it is elites who make public policies. It is not masses. Right? Now, how will you link it with paper 2? You have what are called as LPG reforms in India. Right? In 1991, we have introduced liberalization reforms in India. Now, these LPG reforms, the demand for their introduction did not come from masses. It came from elites in Indian society, from various academicians, right? This is an example of how elites in Indian society have influenced the public policy, right? So you read about LPG reforms in paper 2, but you have to use it in paper 1. All right. You've also seen that in Swachh Bharat Abhiyan, there are various targets, right? You have to construct so and so number of targets every year. And the government will verify how many toilets were constructed and how many toilets that we have planned to construct. What is this? This is nothing but output budgeting, right? This concept is nothing but output budgeting or outcome budgeting. So you have to use examples like this. In Jan Dhan, a scheme of Government of India to open bank accounts for all Indian households. There are targets under this scheme that you have to open so and so number of bank accounts. Now this is an example of output budgeting. Right? So this is how you have to link paper 1 and paper 2. You have to use various concepts that you have learned in paper 2 in paper 1. And vice versa. Right? So this is the second thing that I wanted to talk about. First is comprehensive syllabus coverage. Second is value addition to your answers. All right. Now the third important point in your optional preparation is answer writing practice. Once you have covered your syllabus, once you have your own notes for all the topics, you start your answer writing practice, right? For example, you have covered Wilson or you have covered, let us say, Chester Bernard. Immediately after reading that particular topic, you try to do answer writing practice. Do not immediately take any test series, right? When you are still preparing for the examination, you take previous year questions and try to write answers on that particular topic. One answer is enough, right? Every single day, one answer is enough. You'll be writing around 300 answers for one single year, right? So that is very good. So do not ignore answer writing. After you cover a topic, try to write answers on previous year questions. Now, after prelims examination, you can pick up any test series, right? But before prelims examination, when you are still preparing, focus on previous year questions. This will give you a great idea as to how questions are being asked in public administration optional, right? So this is the next thing that you have to do. Preparing for answer writing. Now there will be a lot of resistance among students to not write answers. They keep postponing. Please do not commit that mistake. Because in optionals, you will not have a lot of time, right? When you are giving your mains examination, you will realize this, that you will not have time to finish the entire paper. But if you want to score 300, you have to finish the entire paper and at least 60 or 70% of your paper must be good, right? The rest of them can be average. But at least 60% of your paper must be good. This is what you should aim for. We are not asking you to write 100% good answers. That is not possible given the amount of time. But at least 60% of the answers Try to write them in a very organized way. Okay. Now let us talk about this answer writing. In optional, it is very important. How should you write public administration on answers, and what are the components? What should be the components of your answer? Okay. As soon as you read the question, a public administration question, underline the important words in that question, right? I'll give you an example, which we have seen already. Even after 130 years of its publication, the study of administration, essay written by Wilson, continues to have great relevance today, right? So the important word here is the essay called The Study of Administration. So even if they have not asked you what that essay is about, your answer should reflect that point. You should briefly write, what is this essay called The Study of Administration? Who is this person, Wilson, who has written this particular essay, and what are its important suggestions or propositions? Even if they don't ask you, you have to write this. Okay. First is underlining important points or important words in the question. After you have underlined important words, try to define those words very briefly. What is the study of administration? Right? If they ask you about new public management, even if they don't ask you to define new public management, you will have to write what NPM is in your answer. In the introduction, you have to write that NPM is so and so model. Okay. Third is write a brief summary of basic provisions or propositions. What are the basic propositions? If they ask you about a question on NPM, new public management, right? First, define what new public management is. Then very briefly, in 3 or 4 points, write what NPM says, even if they don't ask you, right? Then the next important component would be answering all the parts of the question. You have to write introduction, you have to write basic provisions or propositions, then you have to write all the parts of the question. You cannot ignore any part. Now, this is an exercise that you can do. Even if you don't start your answer writing practice immediately, try to pick up a question and try to see what are parts that they are asking in that question. Which all parts should be reflected in my answer? When an examiner is evaluating your paper, he will not get into a lot of details. He only has limited amount of time to correct your paper, right? So what would he see? He would see whether you have answered all the parts of the question or not, right? So you have to give a heading, you have to underline it, and you have to answer all those parts. Only when you do this, you will score very high marks in optionals. Okay. Then the fifth important point or component is the ability to substantiate your answer with all the things that I have just mentioned. Case studies, Supreme Court judgments, ARC2 recommendations, Sarkaria recommendations, Pucci Commission recommendations, or propositions given by various thinkers. If you're writing about Prime Minister's office, or if you're writing about Cabinet Secretary and his leadership role, you have to quote leadership thinkers. That is how you substantiate your paper to answers, right? You cannot simply write a polity answer on Cabinet Secretary. If you're a public administration student, you have to quote a leadership thinker also. Why are leaders so important? Many thinkers spoke about this. Chester Bernard spoke about it. Herbert Simon spoke about it. So you have to write these thinkers' names. In paper 2, you can substantiate using thinkers. In paper 1, you can substantiate using lot of data, case studies, and recommendations given by various committees and commissions. Okay, so these are all the points or components which should be there in your answer to score very high marks. Do not think that they have not asked me about basic provisions or summary, so I will not write it. You have to write foundation of every single topic in the answer, even if they do not ask you. Then the last thing is criticism. Every public administration thinker must have been criticized by someone who came later. Taylor was criticized, Wilson was criticized, behavioral thinkers were criticized, human relations school was criticized. So you should know criticism of all these schools and thinkers. And even if they don't ask you the criticism, you have to write 1 or 2 points about how this particular thinker was criticized. These are all the points which must reflect in your answers. Okay. Do you have any doubts so far? Students, do you have any doubts so far?
No, ma'am.
No? Is it all clear to you?
Yes, ma'am.
Great. Now let us move on. So far, we have covered 3 points. Comprehensive syllabus coverage, along with syllabus mapping using previous year questions. Second is value addition. Third is answer writing practice. Now, as you move closer towards mains examination, immediately after prelims examination, you must start your optional revision. You cannot waste time after prelims examination. Between prelims and mains, you have 90 days or 100 days. At least 30 days must be given for optional subject. And in these 30 days, you must do multiple revisions of your own notes. Do not pick up any big textbooks then. Only rely on your notes. After doing multiple revisions, pick up any test series and try to write at least 12 to 15 tests. Now, this is not a very fixed formula. It entirely depends on the student. If someone is very good with answer writing, they need not write 15 tests. They can write 7 or 8 tests, right? So it is a very personalized thing. You decide how many tests that you have to give. But between prelims and mains examination, your only focus should be to revise and to write test series. Whatever syllabus coverage that you want to do, you do it 3 months before prelims examination and you stop it. Prepare for prelims. After prelims, if you're sure that you're passing the examination, you immediately start your mains preparation and you do revision of your optional notes and you start giving tests. Okay, so this is the mantra. And try to have a short notes of not more than 10 pages, 10 to 15 pages. Try to have a short notes. And in this notes, you need to have important words that you must use in your mains answers. Every thinker has his own terminology, his or her own terminology. For example, if we talk about Mary Parker Foley, she talks about conflict resolution. She talks about integration method. Integration method of conflict resolution. So under Mary Parker Foley, you write these terms. Integration method of conflict resolution. What is the method she has suggested for coordination? Not more than some 5-6 words for each thinker and for every topic, right? So have a very short notes of important words, which you will revise before mains examination or 2-3 days before mains examination, right? So before going to exam, revise these notes and make sure that you write all these important notes in your mains answers. Important words, right? Because an examiner will not have a lot of time to evaluate all the details of your answer. He or she will see whether some important words are being reflected in your answer or not. All right. So have a very short notes of not more than 10 to 12 pages for your entire public administration syllabus. Revise it before mains examination and ensure that you use all these important words in your mains answers. Right. So have this short notes, which is a method which is followed by a lot of UPSC toppers. This is not only true for public administration optional, but any other optional also try to have a notes like this. Because 1 week before examination, you cannot start revising your entire PubAd notes, right? So have this short notes. Now, the next point that I want to discuss about is the importance of peripheral topics. These days in UPSC exam, they have exhausted all the questions on thinkers, right? They have been asking questions on thinkers over the past 40, 50 years. Now they don't have a lot of questions left to ask from thinkers. So these days, they are not asking many questions from chapter 2 in paper 1, that is administrative thought. But most of you, what you do is you dedicate almost 50% of your time to cover chapter 2, that is all the thinkers. Okay, so the cost benefit analysis would be very low if you focus entirely on that. They are now asking on peripheral topics. For example, DICE's administrative law. It is a peripheral topic which most of the aspirants ignore. Organizations. They're asking about questions on boards and commissions. They're asking about regulatory authorities. Example, TRAI. Previously, a question was asked on TRAI, Telecom Regulatory Authority of India. What are the challenges which regulatory authorities are facing? What is the problem with having multiple regulatory authorities? Okay. Then most of you tend to ignore techniques of administrative improvement. PERT and CPM, organization and methods, work study, all these topics in techniques of administrative improvement. They're asking at least 25 marks from this chapter. This is a peripheral topic because most students, PubAd students, they only focus on thinkers. They ignore all the other chapters. You do not commit that mistake. All right. So these peripheral topics are very important these days. Now, before winding up, I want you to understand the importance of multiple revisions also, right? This is the next component of your preparation for scoring more than 300 marks. Keep this as a formula that after prelims examination, before you give mains examination, you have to cover entire public administration syllabus at least thrice. You have to do your first revision, second revision, and third revision. Right? So bear this in mind. This is very important because if you go to the examination without revision and if you read the question, you will have to give some time to frame an answer. You will not immediately start writing an answer because you cannot immediately recollect. Right? Only when you do multiple revisions, at least 3 revisions, you'll be able to write answers in time. Very quickly organize your answer. Okay, so do multiple revisions. This is the next point that I want to stress on immediately after prelims examination. Right now, do you have any questions so far? Do you want me to address any more questions? Yes. Students, do you want me to address any more questions? Do you have any doubts? No? Any questions? See, public administration optional, it has a lot of advantages also, right? If you take PubAd optional, you don't have to do GS part, that is polity, governance, and social issues. Of course, social issues you have to do education and health, but governance issues and polity will get covered in your public administration syllabus itself, right? And many PubAd students, they tend to score very high marks in GS paper 2 because they write very specific answers, right? And it is also very important for your ethics paper. PubAd students score very high in ethics paper also because they have a great understanding of all governance related concepts. What is accountability? What is transparency? How can citizens charter help us? How can social audit help us? What are the reforms that we need to introduce in police force? Yes. They have a good understanding about the values which a civil servant must possess, which will get covered in your ARC2 reports. It will also greatly help you in your essay paper. At least one essay related to public administration would be seen. Gender budgeting, it was an essay asked 2-3 years back. PubAd students can write that essay very well. Okay. Now let me see your questions. How to set daily targets for public administration and general studies? Okay, I'll try to answer this. See, your daily targets must depend on few factors. First is, when are you giving the examination? Are you giving the examination in 2023 or are you giving it in 2022? That is next year. Decide this, and do not give any practice examinations. Without covering syllabus, do not give UPSC examination for practice. Many students tend to do this and they regret later that they have exhausted their attempts. Okay, I'm not suggesting that you're going to give 6 attempts, but it is always good if you go to the examination well prepared. Okay, so decide when are you giving the examination. That is the first factor. Is it 2023 or 2022? Second factor is, are you a working professional? Because working professionals will not be able to give lot of time. They will have to go for work, right? So you decide whether you're a working professional or you're someone who is studying from home. Decide if you are someone who can concentrate for long hours, that is 10-12 hours, or are you someone who will not be able to focus more than 5 hours? Okay. Decide how much of syllabus is left. Based on this, you have to set your daily targets. But before setting daily targets, I would suggest you one thing. Instead of going for these daily targets and daily scheduling, that from 9 to 10 o'clock, I will study, 10 to 1 o'clock, I will study general studies, and from 12 o'clock to 1 o'clock, I'll have lunch. Do not do any micro scheduling, right? Micro scheduling, you will not be able to follow. Set weekly targets. Weekly or monthly targets. For example, set a target that this week I'm going to finish public administration chapter 1 and chapter 2 in optional paper 1, right? This should be your weekly target. So you can adjust. Some days you will be able to study more. Some days you will not be able to study a lot. But within that week, you should be able to meet your target, right? So don't set daily targets. Try to set weekly targets both for optionals and your general studies, right? And also set a monthly target. Have a long-term plan. Okay. I'll give you an example. If most of you are giving examination in 2022, in June, you have your prelims exam, right? It is already November, December, Jan, Feb, March, April, May. And in June, you'll have your prelims examination. So at least 2 or 3 months go exclusively for prelims preparation. So you have 4 months left to cover your general studies and your optionals, right? Now set a target that this month, November, I am going to finish GS paper 1 and GS paper 2. Or set a target that I'm going to finish GS paper 1 and some part of optional, at least 4 or 5 chapters from optional subject, right? So have a first long-term plan, and based on that long-term plan, try to set weekly targets, right? If you have to finish GS paper 1 and the 5 chapters from optional paper 1, then you see how much you have to finish every week to meet your monthly target, right? So first is have a long-term plan, and based on that long-term plan, you have weekly targets. It is not possible to have daily targets because some days you might not be able to read properly. Okay, see the books that you are mentioning in the chat box, all those are quite outdated books. This is not to say that those books are not good. For example, Fadia and Fadia, you keep hearing it in the market, right? That book is good, but it has kind of become outdated, right, for your UPSC preparation. Now, this is a book list that I suggest, but if you want to study some other book, it is completely fine, right? The goal is to finish the syllabus and to do it comprehensively. Now, which book you choose, it completely depends on you. This is the book list that I would suggest. Someone was asking me about coaching for public administration. Is it necessary to take coaching for public administration? See, if your graduation subject is public administration, then you need not take any coaching for it. You can study on your own, right? But if you are someone from science background, or if you are someone who has taken other humanities subjects like sociology and anthropology, you would need help, right? You would need help to cover public administration because all these concepts are very new to you. Of course, if you have a lot of time, for example, if you're taking examination in 2023, then you have time to slowly prepare. But if you want to give this exam immediately, you would need right guidance, right? It is very important for optionals having right guidance, whether it is from your seniors or from a coaching institute. It is very important to have guidance for optional subjects, right? Because it is very vast. The syllabus is very vast for all optionals. So have right guidance, attend coaching. They will help you cover the syllabus. They'll help you understand the concepts. They'll tell you how to write answers, right? So if it is not your graduation subject, I suggest that you take coaching. How much time does it require to cover public administration syllabus? This is a question one of you asked. It takes at least 4 months to cover public administration syllabus. Okay, but it depends on you. If you are someone who is studying 15 hours a day, you might be able to cover it sooner. But generally, it takes 4 months to cover public administration syllabus. If you need any more details regarding public administration or our institute, you can go to our website. There are numbers available on our website. You can call us. If you need any other mentorship or some details regarding the courses, there is a public administration course which is going to be launched on November 15th. All right. So if you need details regarding that, you can call our office. They'll respond. We'll try to wind up the session now. If you have any more doubts, you please contact us. All right. Thank you.